Well, hello there. Oh, you're gonna say it too?
Hello?
I just watched Chrisky's latest schizo rant, which is in the description, and I wanted to respond to it, mostly to Chrisky, because I like his stuff. I think he puts out a lot of good information. There's obviously some things I can't comment on because of who pays my bills and what I do for a living, but he's very upset about the channel strike, which any regular person would be, and he's upset about the state of affairs of the country. Now, Chrisky was in the Army. I'm in the Navy, but he and I have both experienced leadership that either doesn't like you for whatever reason, or they play psychological games with you constantly. And they feed off of seeing you upset, seeing you demoralized, and seeing you angry. The way you beat those people is not by meeting them with the degree of anger and vitriol that they're coming at you with. And lately, I've been watching the same stuff he's been watching, I'm sure, because I'm equally upset, but all of this is by design, right? They spent years trying to force a race war that never happened. They spent all this time trying to split us up and find a way to divide us, and then this shooting happened and they found two groups of people that they could pit against each other successfully. An ideology that's confusing to everybody, including those that adopt it themselves, that's constantly shifting goalposts and all this other stuff. That's what they're gonna use now. And I'm not gonna make any comments on anyone's lifestyle choices or anything like that. I don't. Just as long as you leave kids alone, I don't care what you do. Whatever consenting adults do that don't harm anybody else isn't my business. My personal and religious feelings aside, as far as whatever someone else does that doesn't harm anyone else and doesn't harm children, that's fine. But there's a lot of groups that are exploiting things that are taking place, and they're being fed information. Chrisky and I have both been on the wrong side of a counseling session. And hopefully, like I had the luck of having a leader and a mentor that would pull me aside after when I'm at my most pissed, when I'm furious, seeing red, going off, and I can't make a competent decision because of how upset I am or how mad I am. And they'd pull me aside. I'm not going to say his name, but I had an MA1 who was in the Filipino Army Rangers, and he had killed a lot of people. And then he decided he wanted a more chill life, and he enlisted in the US Navy as a CS and then became an MA later after 9/11. But I used to get red hot pissed at people that didn't have honor or integrity or accountability or any of the things that we see now that make us mad, right? Anytime that happened, I would lose my mind. And he would always be super calm and cool. He'd get mad at us for not doing what we're supposed to do, but he would always be super calm, cool, and collected in those situations. And the secret was, after I made E5 and he was my E6, he pulled me aside and he hated him just as much as I did. He hated how they conducted themselves just as much as I did. And the wisdom that he passed to me is, you can't ever let them see you cry, you can't ever let them see you get mad, and you can't ever let them push you to do something that you don't want to do or you wouldn't normally do. What's important about that is you don't let others dictate your actions or your responses. I fail at that all the time. I'm not lecturing anybody. I'm not trying to come from a place of superiority or any of that stuff, because then I'd be just like the people I don't like. This camera is begging to die. When I have my wits about me and I spot that behavior ahead of time, I can start shifting and moving and trying to adapt to what they're trying to force me to do, and either give them the show that they want or start doing things that sabotage them and trip them up. Whether that's acting like, oh no, we were already doing that, no problem, I see what you're trying to do, let me help you with this. And then either you're ahead of them because you know that right before quitting time at the end of shift, they're going to come in, they want to do an inspection, they want to do dismount, they want to do all this stuff, make sure the building's clean, which is something you should be doing anyway, but people get lazy. And they come in there and they don't raise hell 2 hours before shift change. They come in 5 minutes before and then start yelling at you about why stuff isn't done. But if you anticipate their moves and you stay ahead of them, or you're able to shift and move based on the actions that they're taking, then it puts you in a much better and more informed position, and you can make the moves you want to make. Don't let anyone dictate your maneuvers and your moves. And Chrisky's a really smart dude. He's probably smarter than me. And he definitely has more trade skills than I do. I'm just a dirty sheetrocker before I got in the Navy. What I want everyone to understand is, of course, people are going to behave the way they are.
A tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. Poor thing, she cried, I'll take you in, and I'll take care of you. The border. Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. She wrapped him up all cozy in a comforter of silk and laid him by her fireside with some honey and some milk. She hurried home from work that night, and as soon as she arrived, she found that pretty snake she'd taken in had been revived. Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed that vicious snake. She clutched him to her bosom. You're so beautiful, she cried. But if I hadn't brought you in by now, oh heavens, you would have died. She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed him and held him tight. But instead of saying, thank you, that snake gave her a vicious bite. Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. I have saved you, cried the woman, and you've bitten me, heavens, why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die. Oh, shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in.
So if you believe someone's godless, let's say, then they're not going to act in a way that's intrinsically connected to those values. Then of course, when something bad happens and it's someone they don't like, they don't understand that a life was taken. They don't have any reverence or respect for life. So when a child dies or a janitor dies or a substitute teacher dies, they don't care because it wasn't their people. Whatever that is. If you think people are pumping chemicals into the lake to turn the frogs gay,
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Of course, they're going to act that way because they're doing that action, right? So if you think that they don't have a reverence for life, of course they're going to conduct themselves that way. If they obtain power through trickery and subterfuge and misinformation and lie, cheating, and stealing, then of course they're going to continue to act that way.
Oh, shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in.
This is all more a reflection of my mentors than my own wisdom. And I'm not smarter than anybody else, but you have to keep playing the game. So what I would encourage Chrisky to do, and everybody listening right now, and I don't mean any word of ill will or any intention or anything negative towards Chrisky at all. And I'm sure people are still going to hate on it, but you can't give up. You can't say the system's broken, we can't vote anymore, or we shouldn't be voting anymore, or whatever. All right, we're not as close to the brink as we think we are, although we're in a very dangerous area right now. I'm not going to lie to anybody. What's happening with the dollar, what's happening in our society, culture war, all this stuff. There's a lot of things that are scary right now because we've allowed it to get this far. And the way that happened was we weren't active. We didn't do all of the steps we needed to do. And then we got here and then we tried to step up to try to fix it, but the house was already on fire. So now we have to put the fire out, figure out how to move forward and rebuild. That's what we have to do. So he and I, even though we may disagree on things, like we agree on 80%, 90% of something on a particular topic, we might disagree here and there. I think people like Chrisky and myself are going in the same direction. And what I don't want to see happen is Chrisky being a YouTuber and having the following that he has. He is a leader now, whether he wants to be or not. And he's done great videos on be a follower, you know, what good leadership is, what bad leadership is. And he knows all these things. I've lost my mind even as a first class. You know, there's plenty of times where I'll have this talk with somebody about how they should approach a situation, and then when I'm in the situation myself, I don't follow my own advice. Sometimes it's easier to see other people than it is to see yourself. And I've been very guilty of that on multiple fronts. But the only thing that I would stress and ask Chrisky to do is take a step back and reflect for just a moment. And once the anger fades and subsides, which it may not for a minute, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm telling you, the people that want to see the United States fail, they found a nerve and they're going to keep poking it now. They found it, they know what to do with it, and they're going to keep doing it. And if we play into it because they found a whole group of people that every time they poke that nerve, they get mad as hell and they're going to go do stuff about it, there can't be a reaction to that. And I know it hurts to say that, and I know it's even worse to watch all this stuff happening and not want to act, but it's a trap. So my recommendation, respectful, no ill will recommendation to Chrisky, is to step back, think about what's going on, remember the bad leadership that he had while he was in the Army, and remember the good leadership in the Army, and remember all of the good information that he's put out to people. Step back for just a moment, look at everything, and figure out how you would reorganize and how to move forward while maintaining everything. Because if we give up and just go to the end of the story, then we're all going to be in a really bad place that we don't want to be. And we will wish with everything we had that I don't have kids, and I'm not going to try to appeal to parents right now. Like like some person I disagree with would do. But you will wish that everyone you love had the life that they had before because of how bad things will get. Speeding things up or trying to steamroll something, or in Chrisky's case saying it's all corrupt, we tried to flood it, it's not worth doing anymore. We'll all wish that we still tried to do it. And even if it's just playing the game, even if it's putting on a fake smile and making that bad leader that always messes with us at the end of shift, isn't proactive, has no accountability, tries to mess with our emotions because they don't like us, we start adopting those tendencies instead of figuring out how to counteract those tendencies. So I saw that and I recognize myself when I get angry. I don't think it's a character flaw in Chrisky, and I've certainly had more than a few rants myself. And I wish I'd take my own advice sometimes. This isn't me giving him advice, telling him he should follow it. This is me saying I've been where he's at and I feel his emotions now, even as I say these things. And I'm remembering what my mentors taught me, trying to take a step back and reassess. So he and I may even disagree on what to do moving forward or how to fix things or all that stuff. But I know someone like Chrisky would at least sit at a table with me and have a discussion about it. People that are like-minded can sit down and, see where the other person's coming from, or at least, even if you completely disagree with somebody, if they're at least willing to listen and understand where you're coming from. They want us to be mad, they want us to do bad shit, and even in the peak of his frustration, he still said, don't go out and do anything. You can't be the first to act and all that other stuff, because he's wise. He knows this is a game that they're playing with us. I just hope that he can step back and see that the rest of it is too. And I'm hoping that all of us can get together and do something meaningful and start turning things around. And it's going to happen at a grassroots level. We're trying to change cities. You don't start at cities, you start in your community, and then you grow it out. That's how you win. You don't try to change a big city. The big city's a monster. Just like in the new Batman movie. It's its own character. So don't try to argue with the horde. Try to convince one or two people. And hopefully this message lands the way I intend it to. And by no means am I upset with Chrisky or throwing any shade his way or doing anything negative. I just saw myself in his frustration, and that's why I made this video. So hopefully it gets across. Hopefully he sees it. I'm going to tag him in the description. I mean, he doesn't really know me from anybody. He's loved a couple of my comments and we've talked back and forth. He doesn't know me anything. But this is just my respectful recommendation, and I feel his pain. I feel the anger and frustration myself. So I just felt compelled on Good Friday of all days to sit down and try to organize my thoughts on it, I guess. But thanks for listening to me drag on in a monotone voice, and I hope everybody has a great time this weekend with their families, and don't let other people dictate your actions. No matter who you are, whatever's going on, try to formulate a plan and act accordingly, which is not easy. I'm not saying it is, and I fail to do it myself. So let's just all try to come together and do our best to get through this, because there's definitely some challenges ahead of us. So as always, thanks for watching, and take care out there.